Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Unity in Music podcast, number 3, part 2. We're discussing teaching, and we're going to go straight to it after some lovely ukulele out of tune music. Woo!
One thing we teach with our A-level students when they do their level 3 BTEC, what is it? It's a subsidiary diploma, and then it becomes a
national diploma.
No, it's not called that anymore.
Higher.
Oh, it's a certificate in the first year, and it becomes a subsidiary diploma in the second. So
Right.
it's quite a small course. It's the equivalent of a full A-level. We're going to stop teaching it probably quite soon because it's changing. But at the moment, one of the parts of the 6 units, is they have to appraise their own playing, do some research on how they should fix the things. So go to YouTube, go to your teacher, go buy a book, whatever. How they should fix the things they've discovered they're weak at. Build a practice routine, then do it for 6 weeks. Plot the improvement, change the practice routine to reflect, oh, it's changed now, I'm now good at this, I've now noticed this. And then they perform some pieces at the end of it that they picked at the beginning, that they couldn't do at the beginning, and now they can. And you would think, well, that's fairly straightforward, right? I mean, we do that on one of the things. Adrian, who's a trumpet player, he's my colleague that teaches that, and he is a stunning trumpet player.
Who is he again?
Adrian Robinson. He's absolutely incredible, and you hear him warming up when he teaches trumpet down the corridor, and his practice routine is amazing because he'll just play one thing. And you'll hear him play it solidly for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, however long it takes. And he'll just repeat those 5 notes over and over again. But it will be some ridiculous, thing. Like he'll lip slur like a tone and a half. You're like, wow, how did you make that thing? I mean, he barely uses the valves. He's
just speaking with it.
Anyway, so we do this all the time, and we've even videoed ourselves doing this routine because they have to video themselves. This whole idea. I can't play this, so I want to be able to. And it seems like second nature to us. I'm sure it does to you guys too. We do it all the time, but they find it incredibly hard, and it's fascinating. Why do you find this difficult? And I think it's because they're still in school, so they turn up. That's what they do. They turn up and people give them learning. There you go. Here's a worksheet. Here's a lecture. Exactly. Here's a PowerPoint presentation.
You haven't got time to be free thinking sometimes. Most of the time, most people, when they want to sit down and play, they just want to noodle. They just want to go off on one.
It's almost like an antidote to being taught something. So, their practice is just, I'll play that song again. Yeah, but you can already play that. And we see it at jam night as well. We see people come down,
play the same
song. Like you've been playing that song, and it's not just Ipswich. I mean, I used to see it up at the Blue Lion in Chelmsford years ago. There, whatever the hell it's called in Hatfield Peveril, great jam in Hatfield Peveril, and it's the same thing in all of them. Someone will always come down, and it's going to be one of 4 songs.
I have to admit,
every time.
So you think repetition is kind of the best way of doing it? You think?
What do you mean?
So,
for these
just
guys,
finding your point with that, with.
Sorry, yeah. Well, what the thing about the jam night example is those guys aren't learning anymore because if they either they've figured out how to play that song because they've been playing it for 3 years, or they're never going to figure it out because they've been trying to play it for 3 years. So they've
gone into bad habits.
Yeah. So what are they doing that's new? How are they getting better? If I'm as good now as I was last year, I haven't been working hard enough. I should be better, even by some small measurable amount. I should have got better. Exactly. And if you're not doing that, if you're just sitting down and noodling, if your if your practice routine isn't structured, then you're just going to continue to get better at what you can already do. And then there's another danger because you get so good at what you can do that when you finally try to do something you can't do,
unknowns,
it's actually impossible. And you think, oh my God, I'm a failure. I'm not as good a whatever player as I thought I was. I'll go back to doing the thing that I can do. And you're stuck in this box of stuff you can do. And there's always 3 boxes. There's always the stuff that you can do really well. Like I can play it at a gig when I'm not even thinking straight. And then there's the box of stuff that you can do at band practice. It's a little bit rough. It don't always work. I wouldn't play it at a gig because I'm not comfortable enough with it yet. I can take a risk, but it's not going to throw the whole the whole song, and then there's the stuff you can do at home, which where no one's around, where it's so basic and so fledgling that you can. You can't do it at any tempo, or you can't do it fluently enough. You do it in a band practice, and there's
it's kind of finding it's a difficult thing of finding the bits between those boxes. Per se. So it's the thing. So the stuff that you would play at home, stuff that you would play at the band practice and stuff. So what defines that leap between those boxes?
And how do you get that technique from one box to the next?
Yeah. So I think with a lot of my students, I will say to them, keep an acoustic around your house. Just keep it anywhere that people hang out, and we'll just be sitting there talking, or they could be watching TV or something like this. Just like, look, they're your parents. You're supposed to annoy them. Just so
pick up the guitar and do some scales.
Exactly. Yeah. Just piss them off, so that you can be getting comfortable with playing anything in front of anybody.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
Because it's just like, unless you are playing in front of other people, you're just going to be constantly just going, brilliant, listen to my own bullshit. That sounds great. It's just like, loads of other people. I know there's so much stuff that I said to think I'm good on, but if I actually played that in front of somebody else, they might be sitting going, what the hell are you doing?
To feel a little bit difficult.
That sounds awful. It's kind of getting you into that performance aspect, and that's a difficult thing to teach, is performance skills with music, with instruments. Because you could teach somebody great technique and things like this, but how you grab an audience, how and how you actually feel comfortable with what you're playing is not something that you can do lightly. It's down to someone's mental state. It's down to how they work. Because I've got a lot of very kind of anxious kids that I teach, who it is difficult to get even a single word out of during the whole lesson, apart from like, are you getting this? Yes, okay, we shall carry on. It's a thing like them,
sure.
Right? It's that thing of like, them, it's difficult enough for them to be able to talk to me, to express themselves to me.
Perform to you.
Yeah, it's exactly.
And that's you. They must feel safe with you.
Well, I don't know. I'm pretty scary.
Oh, of course they do. I mean,
I'm a bit of a predator.
They compared to a stage.
Yeah, exactly. One guy, but sometimes it's harder to play to one person than it is to a big group of people.
It's always hard to play to friends as well. I don't know why. Well,
I don't know.
It depends if they're your dickhead friends. If they're just like, what are you doing that for?
I feel
like conversation.
Which school is full of, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
There's one thing I hate.
Come play football.
When you see students interacting with each other, is that I call it xenophobia. It's not xenophobia, but it's like, you're not exactly the same as me, therefore I'm going to give you grief.
Yeah, exactly. That's all we got, like in Orwell, wasn't it? It was just kind of like all the time. We had the gall to play in front of people.
We were quite physically.
How dare you?
Right.
At break time, we were in the corner of the hall. We literally have a little set of chairs in the corner where
us greasy grebos, as we were called.
Everyone with the guys had longer hair than the girls.
Yes, of course.
Most of us wore makeup of some sort at some point,
or at least black and DMs.
Yeah.
Oh,
we weren't
allowed that.
We'd have trainers as much as we could get away with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
we're sounding old now.
Exactly. Oh yes. We used to have a tuck shop. We was at a tuck shop.
Tie-dye dress.
Well, that's good. But yeah, that's the thing. Like,
didn't have
we had
apples in.
Well, we had the goal to be playing in front of people for like school assemblies and things like this.
Sure.
And I really do sympathise with kids these days. When they're performing. But just like, having to perform in front of people now, because I don't know, there's so much out there that you can watch, and so much that you, again, back to YouTube, you demon. You could go on YouTube and just see somebody.
Off by this.
Exactly. see some 6-year-old Taiwanese kid being amazing,
shredding it.
Yeah, exactly. And you're 12 and you've just started playing. Well, you've been playing the same amount of time as this Taiwanese kid, and you've got to play in front of these kids that could probably beat you up outside.
Don't get it.
Don't get it, and they will just rip the shit out of you for the rest of the time that you are at that school. And I got that. I didn't get the shit beaten out of me because obviously I'm hard. No, just because I just ran away.
Crazy too.
I'm a fast runner. But
I wasn't.
Just bigging myself up here.
There is a flip side to all of that, which I think is quite interesting. And I
being a fast runner.
Well, that's a bonus, right? But no, there's something about rebellion and passion and not fitting in and
definitely.
music. There's something there, because we teach music not how I learned it. In my classroom lessons in school, they were just so, oh my God, it was so boring. Until we got to GCSE, and then it was marginally less boring. And the only reason I took GCSE is because I had drum lessons. It had nothing to do with what happened in the classroom.
Right.
not the school's fault, to be fair. We had a string of teachers changing and stuff. Well, I suppose that might be the school's fault, but not any particular teacher's fault. Where I am now, John Woodley, the head of music there, has got this whole scheme of work. We've all chipped in, but it's basically his design.
Magna Carta.
It's all Wonderwall, Yellow by Coldplay. It's rock and pop, and but they can sing it easily. We can teach the whole class to sing that song. You can teach them all to play it with one finger on the guitar. You can teach them all to play the chords. You can teach them all the drum beat in one 90-minute lesson. You can do that because that's how easy the song is. So you can they're not rebelling.
Yeah, they're just doing the same
us.
songs as everybody else.
Yeah. So where's the fire? Where's the passion? I mean, for the kids I used to teach,
and encouraging that fire and that passion to be different.
Yeah, and it's okay. Yeah. Whereas I think if you play guitar at Kesgrave, you're almost a conformist.
Oh, really?
Well, because we do it in lessons.
Because Rich is there with you as well, isn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Rich Webb.
Good drummer, great drummer.
Yeah.
Great teacher too.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, on a different note there, Rich has said to me recently that he was just like, I've been teaching for so long now that teaching is a fantastic way of supplementing a live career or a studio career or a songwriting career, whatever. However, you can get stuck in that rut a little bit. You can sit there and say, right, I'm just going to be right. I mean, I'm saying that it is a rut, but saying that bloody teachers are just stuck in the past, aren't they? But if you want to just, if you are using it as a supplement to it, then it becomes your main form of work, and it's like any job. You get stuck into doing it, and you're like, this is easy money. Why should I do anything else? And now Rich is starting to get to the point now. From what he said to me anyway, what I've garnered is the fact that he's just like, I need to just cut out the teaching and just focus on what I actually want to do. And there's a struggle, therein lies a struggle with teaching, is that, you're focusing a lot on other people's progression, that you don't look at your own progression.
I fell into exactly that trap. I got to a point where I was teaching drums 6 days a week, 100 kids a week or something, I think it was. It was ridiculous. And at the time, like you say, money's great. I think I earned more that year than I did for the next 5 years, or not put together. Jesus. But that was the peak for a long time. But the last thing I wanted to hear the sound of, or see, or pick up when I got home was a drum kit or a drumstick. I've heard this for 6 hours.
Yeah.
I want silence. And when you realise you've stopped listening to music radio and you're listening to talk radio, at the age of 20, because I don't want to hear music anymore. I've been hearing it for hours.
A good thing to do in that case is listen to the Unity in Music podcast.
Podcasts hadn't been invented then. That's a lovely thought. Yeah.
It's still a mythical beast.
But no, and I fell straight into that, and my answer was, because by the time I'd realised I'd fallen into the trap, it was like, oh man, I've got a mortgage now. I can't go back because I'll have to sell my flat. Stuff.
Sell my drums.
Move back in with my parents. I can't do it. Yeah. So I ended up. That's why I teach in the classroom, and actually it's better because I'm not just doing drums all day. So I'm now
that's the thing is, I'm still in that point where I will finish teaching, and just like yesterday, I finished teaching around 8. Got to the jam about 8:30. And we were jamming all night, and it was fantastic. And I was just, every single time I wasn't on stage, I was like, I want to play guitar. And then I get home, and then I'd just be sitting there noodling on my guitar. And I still have the love for it, but I haven't been doing it for 20 odd years, something like this.
As long as you still got that, you're okay.
Yeah, but then it's the thing is that can diminish.
You've got to,
or augment. Sorry,
depending on your outlook on
it. But as long as you can resolve the problem, it's okay.
Yeah, that's it. Right. Oh, there we go.
Have a tonic.
that crescendo there. Okay, but God, we've done puns. But yeah, I don't know. That I haven't reached that point yet, and I'm hoping that I don't as soon as possible. Because it would just otherwise you just lose the love for the guitar. I mean, it's the same thing with you talking earlier about have I progressed as much as I did last year, and each time I am progressing as much as I did last year, and it's kind of having that like for like progression kind of thing going on. but I had a point and I can't friggin' remember it. But it's that thing of as I am progressing, a lot of the time I am learning something and you're creating new pathways. You love that feeling that you get when you
what's that? Oh.
Yeah, right? It's that kind of thing. It's almost like you can feel your brain making a new new connection, like it's just carving a little line between a certain place, and it's kind of, I guess that's where epiphanies must come from, isn't it? It's that thing of like you actually feel like you're like, oh shit, and I'm still getting that about this instrument that I've been playing for 15 years now, and that is an amazing thing. When people sit there and go, oh, you know, I've learned it all now. Like, off you have.
No, that is crazy.
Yeah.
There is not one person on the planet that has learnt it all.
Tommy O'Neill, maybe.
He's
Emmanuel, sorry.
There's a guy called Carl Cole. I don't know if you know him. He's a drummer and teacher up in Norwich. Incredible drummer, very good teacher, and one of the sort of very inspiring teachers. And he said the best and worst thing that he learned was that he'll never know everything there is to know music. And he said when he found that
best
out...
Best thing to know is that you know nothing.
Well, yeah, when he found that out...
It can be really demotivating.
Man,
I'm never going to get to the end of this.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like playing The Sims.
That's it.
It's like having a book this long and then
it just keeps going. Yeah.
Come on.
He said it completely bummed him out for a night, you know, and because he was
night?
like... Yeah, because he was
did
like...
well to recover in a night. That's quite impressive.
He went to college. I think, I could be wrong. Wow. Let us know, Carl. The next morning he went back to college. I think he was at UEA at the time, and his teacher said, that's great, you know. You're doing something you love, and you know that journey will never end.
Yeah, that's
true. And
will
constantly be surprising you.
And it's also why we all sound different.
Exactly.
Because we've all got a slightly different route through that.
Yeah,
because if you have two people who know everything, they're going to have...
Presumably they're going to sound the same.
But speaking of the root kind of thing, you've got this whole this whole like, overarching kind of narrative of where you are, and you'll never particularly reach an end. But there are points. It's kind of like a graph where you'll be like, be increasing in technique at some points and some of this. But what do you guys think about? Because we were talking about this before we started recording, about when you've got a student and they're just starting off on that journey, but they're just not going, and they're not actually. It's either the fact that they just don't have a passion for it, they're not practicing enough, or the fact that they're just not interested in the slightest. I've got one lad, right? I've got one lad, and I love him as a kid. He's brilliant, and he's so funny, and he's very cheeky, and we have a bit of a laugh. But he's he's a young lad, but he's got the attention of a gnat. Like we'll be sitting there going, okay, let's just play the Batman theme, just like, and he'll just be like, Batman, and like, okay, that's great, but can we play the guitar now? Why are
you mean he's singing
exactly? Yeah, exactly. Why are cows black and white? What? That's got nothing to do with this. I cycled to school today. What? I had a sandwich. Brilliant. What? This has got nothing to do with guitar. And we've got half an hour together, and this kid has gone off on one. And I'm like, okay, shit, I've got to tab something out just to make it look for the parents like we've actually done something, because I've been answering inane questions. But do I, right? And you sit there and think, do I say to the parents, just give up? Like, don't bother, because he doesn't want to do it. There is a moral grey area there, as you sit there and think, well, because the same thing with singing, isn't it? You sit there and say, people, everybody can sing, if you try, and everybody can do this.
Everyone
because
can.
They
it
try.
doesn't mean they'll sound.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, should you nip somebody's progression in the bud? Or
should you burst their bubble?
I think you can ask the question.
That's tough.
I think that's probably the best way to approach that, to say, is this something that you want to continue doing?
Even that, though, is that really dangerous? Because I remember, and I'm a big fan of remembering things that happened years ago and looking at them again, kind of looking at them with my own head rather than the head I had then.
Yeah.
So if I go back...
Head?
It's a good head, I like it.
Thank you. No.
You have a menagerie of heads.
Over there.
It's my job.
In that cupboard over there is just all your different heads.
Yes, it's like the wall of faces in Game of Thrones.
Like that old toy you used to have where you could turn the helmet around and it'd be a different guy.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember who it was.
The Lego thing.
It was a He-Man guy?
It was a He-Man guy.
Yeah, I can't remember what his name was. Anyway, sorry.
We're sounding old again. So yeah, there's,
All my
what the
time.
hell was I saying? Yeah, so okay, let's go back to when I was like 12 and a half. So I've been teaching, learning.
When
Not
I was
teaching.
a young warthog.
I was learning drums from year 7, drum lessons in school, 20-minute lessons, 15-minute lessons, whatever they were. And at the time, I just turned up and I did the thing, and he said, do this, and I did that, and we worked through some sheets, and I took the sheet home and I had a little practice, whatever. Eventually got a drum kit and had a little practice on that. Fine, not a problem. Suddenly, and I can't remember, but it must have taken ages. I remember just getting it. And I remember everything got faster by like 200 beats per minute faster.
Your
like,
brain,
whoa!
you felt like your brain was just creating
That
a new
epiphany
pathway.
thing
Yeah.
that you just talked about. And I remember suddenly, the rock beat number 1, you know? Suddenly it wasn't like this anymore. It wasn't 8 individual notes. It was one thing.
It was a groove.
And I remember it
Yeah.
going, oh, I can look at it like that.
Yeah.
And it suddenly got faster. And when I teach an entire class now to play that drum beat on their knees, I say to them, do each thing, one thing at a time, and do it over and over again, and eventually it'll get faster by itself. And I know full well...
But you didn't have anybody say to you, you're not getting this.
No. And I think, respect to Alan Boynton, if he's still around in Harlow now, I wasn't learning with him,
Mike
then,
got
but that's
stabbed.
where he's
It's
based.
pretty rough in there, mate.
Harlow's great, yeah. I remember I worked there for... Oh, we won't go there, my word. But yeah, he was just infinitely patient. Now, he must have, if he'd had that conversation with my parents, we would have stopped.
Yeah,
I'm
we wouldn't be sitting here right now.
We wouldn't be. Well, I wouldn't be. Well, I guess you wouldn't be either because it's my house. But yeah, I would
fuck
not
out.
be drumming.
Yeah.
No way. So how long does it take for that penny to drop? And I know from experience that most kids, it drops pretty quickly. You can teach them that drum. My first drum lesson would be that beat and the one after it on the sheet. Pretty much the same sheet that he gave me, but I just typed it up there.
You said before we started, you said that it's not just a waste of time. Sorry, just paraphrasing what you said. I'm just telling you this is what you said.
Absolutely.
But you were saying that it's, you're taking time away having this lesson with me and not being interested at all from me teaching somebody else who would be really into it.
Yeah.
And the money side of it, again, like you're wasting money on doing this. You're just throwing money at this kid and hoping that he's going to be getting it. And it's like you can't just do that. I mean, if they're really not getting it, then just don't bother. I don't know if that's the right way to do it.
Well, what about?
Have you ever had to do that to someone?
Yes.
Yes.
I have said to private students' parents, I don't think this. I won't even say gender, just in case. I don't think your child wants to actually learn this instrument. I think they wanted to learn something else. You didn't want to buy that something else, so you said, let's buy the drum kit instead. And they went, yeah, okay. And it's just not working.
It's a weird way to go, though.
Well, it was...
Usually
it was odd, yeah.
I want a drum kit, a bit loud, have a guitar.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yeah, it wasn't a volume thing. I think it was a price thing.
Yeah.
They weren't, poor. But I've had another kid who every lesson, have you practiced this week? No. Okay, we'll do the same 4 exercises then, because you've forgotten them.
Yeah.
And I knew that he'd forgotten them because the week before, that's what had happened.
Yeah.
You do have it. I think, I'm just going to throw like 5 things at you straight away to make this question even harder to answer.
Ooh, okay.
Your job as an instrumental teacher is to make yourself redundant. Someone told me that once.
Good, yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you teach them how to teach themselves, which is kind of what you were saying earlier with the toolbox thing, eventually they will get to a point where they don't need you and off they go. But there'll always be another one.
Yeah.
So if you go about it with that mentality, it's okay. If you go about it with the mentality of trying to keep on to the kids, you're actually hampering their progress.
What's 2?
So there's that. There's also, the person doesn't have to be a kid. Let's take the guy that retires. He's wanted to do it all his life. At that age, his brain probably isn't particularly agile.
He's not having as much sex anymore.
It's absolutely. He's not likely. It's possible, but this person isn't likely to have lessons with you for a year and go out and join a band and then gig at the other end of the country and get back at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's not likely to happen. It's not going to be a career.
So what's the
They've
second
just
point?
retired. Well, this is it. Why are they learning? We assume that students want to be where we are now. That's not necessarily true. They might get something out of learning that has nothing to do with music at all. They might have guitar lessons with you for 6 months
to develop their chi.
The end goal doesn't.
Who knows?
Right.
The end goal doesn't have to be a stage.
It doesn't even have to be music.
Just to be that guy that if you have
just,
like a guitar in the corner, they're like, "Can you play that?" Yes, I can. Well, it's not just like it's an ornament.
Or,
Yeah.
or it's even to just make your own music is something beautiful in its own right. To be able to do that, not even to be able to say you can do that, just to be able to do that,
or not even to be able to do it. Just it wires your brain up differently.
Yeah.
And it makes you make links, and who knows what that does to you.
I know they say.
This guy I've seen in Better Call Saul. I love that show. There's this thing where his boss just sits in his room when he's like, I really need to just work on this case, and we'll just sit there and play guitar, and he just hears it coming through. It's like, what are you doing? I do it to think, and having that is
how
great.
cool is that?
Yeah, I do it to think, and I do that. I will sit there and play it, but I use it as a professional instrument. If people just want a guitar to sit there and think with, that's awesome. It's like those little Chinese balls.
I always wonder with people like
so they
that.
might be getting something out of it that you're not seeing. I don't know.
Like just doing a gig and really into a solo, and suddenly they go, "I've solved world hunger."
Exactly. What was your third point? Sorry, I was going.
I can't remember.
So,
here's another point. So they once, I don't even know who they are, but someone once paid some guys to dig a hole and then fill it in. And then dig another hole and then fill it in. And they paid them twice as much.
Wasn't that the plot for the film Holes?
I don't know. Is that a film?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really boring.
It sounds terrible, yeah.
Going on.
So they paid them double the amount that you would normally pay a labourer to dig a hole. But normally you'd be paying a labourer to dig a hole to lay a gas main or fix a pipe or something.
Right.
But these guys were just digging holes and filling them back in. And it took about 2 months before they all quit.
Right.
So what you might be asking is, the student might be getting loads out of that, but you're not. Because you don't feel you're making a difference. You feel you're teaching someone, but they're not getting anywhere.
So wait, am I the hole digger or am I the digger?
You're the guy digging the hole and filling it back in again.
Okay.
So who's the kid? I don't know. The hole, the spade. I don't know. But
right. Okay. I get you.
It's an unfulfilling experience for you as a teacher to teach that kid. Maybe you're assuming that therefore it's an unfulfilling experience for the kid, but it might not be. Who knows? So the guy you say that's asking you all these crazy questions, maybe no one else in his life answers those questions, but you do. Maybe there's a need for attention that he's getting from you. That's who knows? It could be anything.
Got a lot of brothers. I think that's
okay, maybe it's a competition.
They usually beat me up when I ask them this.
So in that,
I will soon.
In that lesson, it's just you and him. Maybe that's the only time in this kid's life that it's just him and an adult who's a role model, a positive role model.
Myself an adult. I do drink tea, but I'm not an adult.
Yeah, I've noticed this tea thing. Yes. So who knows?
So hole digging. Point 4.
Hole digging. Oh, that's enough points.
Ready?
Yeah,
points mean prizes.
I think that's a great point.
Which one?
Well, all of them.
Yeah.
As a good sort of thing of.
That's good. You've done this one.
Yes.
Prizes. That was your prize right there. Well done. Have a cookie.
I think that's probably a good point to end it, as well as the fact that we've been chatting for well over an hour.
We have, yeah.
And at any moment, your other half might come through.
You're not complaining. I mean, you haven't said anything. Let's break the fourth wall here.
Yeah.
I mean,
all right.
I'm going to say something if we've been going for too long. Okay, let's
that's the problem with you two. All right, look, if we're going to finish off soon, there's this one thing here, this idea of truth, which you've already touched on. So, and we were talking about Whiplash earlier. Great film, go watch it. And in Whiplash, if you haven't seen it, the teacher's philosophy is that you should absolutely... No, it's not a spoiler. That you should absolutely tell students the truth.
Boom.
Because it makes them better players. So if you say to somebody that gets something wrong, hey, well done, it's okay. Or even if you just say, hey, well done, and they don't even realise they've got it wrong, you're actually damaging them in the long term.
Yes, definitely.
So how truthful are you with your students?
See, I've got like kind of two things that I say to them when they're getting something wrong. I don't really tell them that I'm saying that I just want to let them carry on until they've got it right. But I won't say to them, no, that's wrong. No, that's wrong. I'll just be like, close, close, almost.
You're getting somewhere.
Almost. There we are. Well done. But it's that thing of just exactly. No, I tried doing that with the biscuits, and then that kid got really hyper. Cows, chicken. But then it's
chicken
that thing.
Again.
Yeah. Yeah, telling kids the truth. It's the same thing of when I go to a show and I'll see somebody and they'll have done a really awful set, but
What up, mate?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we all do it.
Because you're the only guy that's clapping.
Yeah.
But you can tell that they're doing it for the right reasons. They're not an egotist. They're not somebody sitting there just doing it out there, just shaking the crotch around like, they're doing it for the chicks.
So you're applauding the
effort.
Yeah, just the effort, this kind of thing. Yeah, just
the ethic.
Because we need as much of that as possible these days. You know, people with creative flares and just the balls to go out and do that shit in front of people. And it's the same thing with when that's why I don't know.
Do we though? Do we need people to go out there and be terrible?
Because it goes back to that same thing you were saying before. What do they do it for? Do they do it just to be, getting a career out of it, or are they just bettering themselves as a person and going out and meeting people? Because that's one of the best things that I get from doing shows. It's just I met you from
meet
doing
girls.
this. Right? No, I don't. I meet middle-aged women. Than the best. I met you from doing this, right?
Yeah, true.
I wouldn't have known you if I hadn't started doing this.
True.
And you're a good bloke, so it's kind of a nice thing to be able to go out there and have this. I'm lying. It's fine. But we
were just talking about telling the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a very social thing. I'm with you.
Bullshit.
I'm with you.
But yeah, okay. So it's that thing of applauding somebody's gusto and going and sort of doing things like this. And yeah, so I don't know.
Sure.
Telling somebody they're doing it wrong, yes. Doing it the right way is the hard thing, isn't it?
Sure.
Going back to sort of the truth telling, the flip side of that is, can you handle the truth?
By Jack Nicholson.
But, yes, but for the thoughts
Jack
of
Bauer, I was going.
like,
You can't handle the truth.
That was Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
Jack Bauer says it too. I'm sure. In
I don't know.
24.
He just tortures a load of hosts.
Sure. Anyway,
but
truth.
I have had a few occasions where people have
Moth.
said something to me at a gig where they've said, your timing's a bit off, this, that, or your vocals aren't very good.
Oh, that is a difficult one.
Yeah.
But at the time,
Sometimes shut up.
I can, sometimes.
Old man.
Almost every time I get quite offended by it. But I won't make a point because I know.
It depends who they are.
Well, yeah.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Who's it
it's
coming
like
from?
if it's us, if we're teaching someone, then they have got kind of an investment in your opinion. It's like,
and they've paid you to tell them the
yeah,
truth.
exactly right. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. But if it's just like is it on my face?
It's on your hair.
There's a moth on your head.
nice.
It's on your hair.
It's my friend
fine,
now.
though.
I shall call him Moff Tarkin. But okay. It's a Star Wars reference, I'm sorry.
So it depends who it's from.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally
but if
agree.
it's just some random dude who's drunk, fat, and sitting there going, "Oh, you like to
Fat?
say
What's
that?"
fat
I don't know
got to
because
do with it?
exactly, it's like they have no musical thing going on. It's like because I'm drunk and fat, that I can tell you my opinion. I'm sorry.
One of the
I'm
best
not a
singers.
scientist.
One of the best singers I've ever worked with was
a fat
always
guy?
drunk and fat. Yeah, he was amazing. Anyway,
Good.
carry on.
Well, that's the thing. Like random dude who hasn't studied,
that you don't know has studied. It's no good a
that's
random
true.
guy coming up to you and saying that was terrible, and then later on you find out he's
That
like
he's freaking
conductor of
amazing.
the London
Yeah.
Philharmonic or
It's
something.
like, but then it comes to the fact of just like, hi, here are my qualifications. Now I can give you my opinion.
yeah.
Difficult.
We did a gig. I think it was one of the first gigs
It's difficult.
that Blueprint did. It was down in Clacton. I can't remember the name of the pub, but it was an absolute wash. It hadn't been advertised or anything like that. We didn't know anyone down there, so we couldn't pull much of a crowd, if any. It was a very quiet night.
I bet you pulled though, didn't you?
Oh yeah. It was the drummer. No,
Not me.
no,
Different drummer.
different drummer called Dan.
He's an honest man.
So it was a crap night, and there was a fat drunk in the corner.
Whee!
No joke. And,
was me.
And he goes, "Oh, you guys are all right," because that's
That's how drunk people talk.
That's
Yeah.
drunk.
If there's any drunk guys watching, you understood all of that.
He goes, "Oh, it was great and everything, but you don't have an image. You need an image because it was Andy in a shirt, me in a geeky jumper,
Really?
all the time. I live on jumpers, in jumpers.
Zing.
Sorry.
And we all looked very disjointed and not like.
So he was right,
and he was right,
even though he was drunk.
but
And fat.
Oliver was like, "Oh, thanks, mate." And on the way back, he's like, "Oh, fuck him." What does he know? He didn't really swear. Well, he probably did. But he And I was
Yeah,
like,
actually
and I
had
said
a
to him, I was
point,
like,
yeah.
yeah, but we don't have an image. I don't think that would have helped this gig in any way at all, because
but it's
people wouldn't
still a
have
valid
gone,
point.
oh, well, they're wearing smart clothes, let's go in.
Sure.
But from that point on, we were like, okay, well, let's do shirts, ties thing, you know.
Try that.
Okay,
yeah.
shirts, ties, cool.
look dapper
We
now.
got some lights, we made it all look very professional, backdrop and stuff like that.
Pretty cool anecdote.
And people now remember us, they know who we are.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
when you're half time in between gigs and whatever, people will go up to the guy in the shirt and the tie, go,
'Cause they'll expect
you're with
you
the
to the
band,
band,
and he'll be
yeah.
like, no, I've just finished work, the band are over there. But, you know, that kind
Or
of
they'll be
stuff-
like, yes, I am, because
You
you
know.
are an attractive woman.
yeah, and that worked, and I've moved that along with Space Rocks. We try and wear sort of white t-shirts and jeans, you know, that's a lot more casual band, but we try and,
It still looks like something.
yeah, and at least people know, well, I don't
So
know what
that
Space
fat
looks
drunk
like.
guy changed your entire life with his opinion.
Image is important.
No,
See,
exactly
but-
right.
On the flip side, I once had a guy come up to me after a gig and say, "Man, you played that just like the record." And I went, "Yeah, thanks, man. I'd never heard the record.
Yes.
Just like the
Yeah,
guitarist
that's it.
plays that riff, and
That's
this
it.
fits."
Well, yeah.
So, yeah.
But relating
who
this
knows?
back to teaching is that straight sort of thing of truth is great. Check your sources, and that's
Yeah.
the thing, because that's why I asked earlier if you guys went to uni, because only uni people really know what's going on. It's that thing about, like, you know, I had a lot of teachers, but again, when you make that transition, they're not really teachers. They're lecturers. They're people that are giving you a thing that you should go off and study by yourself. They won't spoon feed you anything.
Sure.
And that's the thing, is where you actually start to get to the point where, because your brain's reaching that point where you're like, what, 25 is kind of your peak kind of time, and then you kind of start to degrade. That's where I'm starting to degrade now. It's that thing of, like, you're really questioning everything.
And you want to know. as
Yeah,
well.
exactly. So it's the sort of thing,
By
you know,
choice.
there are no, you know, universal truths that a particular person can give you on the spot that you can't just question, you know, unless you're learning physics or whatever.
At the end of the day, music is an art, and how do you teach art? You know, there are definite rights and wrongs, and there are definite. No, that is definitely a G. It's not just your interpretation of what a G chord is.
But that's again. But then you come back to concert pitch, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like
John Cage
why is
would
it a
argue
G?
with you for a long time there.
Let's not get into the 132 hertz debate. Was it 432?
Yeah.
432 hertz. Wait, there's a point. There's John. What's the John Cage song? Oh, it's 1 minute 42.
433.
433.
433.
Yeah.
Okay, that was me thinking it was 440.
440. That'd be quite funny. If it was 440 hertz, it'd be an A.
Why wasn't it 444? Or 440? That would have been an irony, wouldn't it?
But now, have you,
Right.
are you familiar with the 432 hertz debate? That
No.
people think that we should change our standard pitch from 440 to 432.
Who are these people?
The internet.
The more men.
It's the musical conspiracy that's big at the moment, where people go because it resonates with
we go.
the resonant frequency of the Earth, of the rotation of the Earth.
It's spinning a lot quicker than I thought it was then.
Yeah. And
132
What is that,
times a
like
second.
the 600th harmonic? What?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
no, there's loads of things about it where people test it and they go, yes, it definitely sounds more relaxing. And
Well, yeah,
stuff
it's
like that.
further down it would.
But
It's like playing it
yeah,
down a bit.
it's like people who play half a step down. It sounds better. Well,
in your
it just sounds
opinion.
different. You know, I've never been a fan of half a step down, but I do it with a
Well-
couple of bands because that's what they like.
The Smiths played a tone up
Had to be different.
match. To match. Well, they wanted to match him.
Yeah.
They wanted to match his voice. You know, that's where he wanted to sing. So Mars guitar went up a tone. You know?
But yeah. There's people who try and make science out of stuff like that.
Well, I think when you say music is an art, well, yeah, it is.
And it's also a technology.
Yeah, and it's a technique. So if you take an artist, just to get the metaphor out there, you have to learn how to hold a paintbrush if you're going to paint. Now, you might hold it in various different ways, and you might then create. The creative bit is what's difficult to teach. The holding the paintbrush bit is easy, surely. Like if you don't hold a drumstick in one of these four ways,
You can't
you're
paint.
probably going to have RSI
Yeah.
in about 3 years' time, or you're going to sprain your wrist tendons every gig, blah, 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 blah. You know, if you hold your bass up too high, you're going to do your wrist in. If you're too low, you're going to do the other wrist in. There are some kind of fairly
Yeah.
ruly
Universal
types.
truth.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've said about physics. Well, one of the funny things about science is they're constantly trying to do each other over and say, well, now let's test that. Let's see if we can break that theory, because if we do, it means we've just progressed the whole thing.
It's true.
So even that, in a sense, is creative, isn't it?
So just like that 432 thing, maybe that is the next universe thing. There's probably those people going, no, piss toss. They're like, this thing, why should we do that? A lot of people used to think the Earth was flat.
Yeah.
That's very true.
I was listening to the...
It didn't resonate at 432.
No. the QI podcast, which is a brilliant podcast run by the...
They don't need plugging.
Yeah, I'm going to say they'll appreciate that.
I will plug any podcast I listen to because I listen to it.
Well, then I'd like to plug Doing Drama by my good friend Stuart Race. It's very good for your drama teacher. Don't know why you listen to this if you're a drama teacher. Doing Drama. It's really good. Anyway,
do it. Don't drama.
It's all about funny facts and science and stuff. And they said in 2008 a study... some scientists did a study and proved that people who like watching romantic comedies have a more unrealistic, overly optimistic idea of romantic situations. They think that they're going to meet, love at true sight on a bus, going to
that they nearly missed but didn't.
Yeah,
and they didn't do their makeup.
That's why.
But then another study. Concluded in 2013 exactly the opposite, which basically means if you want to do a scientific study, you can make it say whatever the hell you want, because
you can if you
pick and choose the right
samples
data.
And
Don't be that guy that just says, the jab will give you like measles or whatever it is, just from one source, and everybody will go crazy.
That's it, And there is a guy who's actively goes out to publish. That's the one.
Boom.
Publish articles that weren't published, or scientific studies that weren't published, because I'm going to get this wrong. Like if someone does a study to try and find out if I don't know, bacon gives you cancer.
Bacon or bacon?
No, we're not saying that that's the case, by the way.
No.
Yeah, check your sauce.
But
preferably tomato.
I was just going to say HP.
Oh yeah, I should hate HP. Jesus. Yeah. Carrying on.
Because if they go, it does give you cancer, that's going to be like front page of the Daily Mail because everything causes cancer according to them.
Yeah.
And this
your mum gives you cancer.
Yes, but if it's no proves it doesn't, well, that's really not that
exciting.
So it doesn't get published. It's not going to be in the front. So that's how biased science is. And if science can be that biased...
Well, the reporting of science...
Yeah.
I mean, that's the media nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's a lot of TED Talks on it, which are quite interesting.
Yeah. But then I guess this relates back to what the hell we're talking about.
We've kind of gone off... I'm wondering how you're going to do this.
But there's the thing of just, again, having bias over specific things in their importance in how you should be learning them. It's like, with me, I can segue the fuck out of everything. I should be on a segue right now.
That was like John Coltrane... to Kiss. I don't know how you did that. That was just amazing.
Oh, now I want to listen to both of those guys simultaneously. But yeah, that's the thing. Whether someone looks at you just like you are, like you said, an oracle at the beginning, but you do have bias, and you can't just be. You can be on the dark side of the music, and you can sit there and say, okay, this guy, I'm going to take whatever he says is gospel. And then, you've got some of these doubts that we were talking about earlier about, am I teaching this right? So, going back to bias and things like some people really shouldn't teach because they're the people that will be sending a G isn't actually a G. It's actually just, a real cosmic entity.
I guess it's being self-aware as well of knowing that I think this, and this is why I'm going to teach you. You might find something else, but this is the way I'm teaching.
Absolutely.
And... you might find another teacher that teaches you another way, but that's good because then you've learned two ways of doing something.
I used to have that conversation sometimes. Someone would say, they've offered us drum lessons at school, something like that. Should we take them or not? I'd say, well, exactly that. If you can handle hearing the fact that this guy might teach you something the opposite and tell you what I've taught you is wrong, if you can handle that, then it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
For God's sake, because
exactly, and you want to start questioning people's opinions as soon as possible, really, because it takes until you go to uni or something like this until you start sitting there going, I need to form my own opinion and reference that, sure. to be able to get that. So as soon as you can start thinking like, okay, all these grown-ups that are talking down to me all the time, they're not all right all the time. No, I've got the only person that's opinion's really mattering to me right now is my own, on how I actually formulate my own opinion.
Yeah. I think with any instrument or any musical thing, you have to get to the point, like you say, where you define your own sound anyway. So, assuming that's the end, not an end point, a milestone. You were talking about milestones earlier, not having an end.
I think we just played there once.
Hey,
joke.
One of your milestones is like, okay, this is what I sound like. So at that point, everything you've heard from everybody is kind of in this big blender, isn't it? And you've just pressed the button and this is...
What kind of blender are you using?
Not that kind.
I don't know what the motion was. Carrying on. Yeah.
Sorry, I'll sit on my
You're
head.
creating your kind of opinion smoothie.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so that must come from everywhere. That's where YouTube is great. Because I always held my drumsticks. How my drum teacher taught me to hold my drumsticks. And I always thought, well, that's right. And I much later found out that it's actually a hybrid between the French grip and the German grip, and I didn't know about either of those.
Is
things.
that overhand and so?
No, that's orthodox against match. French is kind of hands together between finger and thumb,
Right.
sticks parallel almost, very light touch. German is right out
Good
here,
old
like
Locke.
and it's a proper twist.
Smack the shit out of it.
Rather than this, it's this.
Right.
It says talking to a microphone. It's this. And then the sticks are
kind of
almost
that
in a
door
straight
handle
line.
kind of muscles.
The American grip is like a compromise between the two.
Oh, really?
I only discovered
the
this.
bastardized version.
I only discovered this from YouTube.
Right.
I think that's going to be like stick
That's
holding.
interesting.
It was at the time. It probably not to people who aren't drummers.
I was bored halfway through that.
Stick technique is one of those things that will become something that's controversial. That if you have two different tutors, that will be something where someone goes, you're holding your sticks all wrong, and
that's the dangerous sentence. You're doing that wrong. Well, if you're going to cause
what is
pain,
wrong?
if you're going to cause injury, pain, or something like that down the line, then it's
someone.
wrong. If you're going to not at all. Offend someone, that's fine. That's punk. We can all do punk. That's fine.
Yeah.
If it's not going to damage someone, then it doesn't matter. I mean, I taught a kid once who's I can't remember what the condition was, but basically, which hand was it? His right hand hadn't formed properly. It was some sort of birth defect. So he just said to me, "Well, I can't hold a stick like that. What do we do?"
Yeah.
Okay. So the whole rule book goes out the window.
Figure it out.
And we just had to
find
a way of making it work. He went left-handed. That was his answer.
One thing I had to learn sort of with bass, for some reason, I think it's from my extensive 10-pin bowling days. I seem to have a weak thumb joint, and if I play bass with a pick.
That constant pressure down on the back of the thumb.
It's more so just the way my finger holds it, and I have too much pressure. It starts to really hurt, and if I carry on playing, my thumb slightly dislocates.
Really?
And
do you get when you're playing pluck style?
Yeah.
So are you resting a lot on your thumb because of that?
Well, when I'm playing fingerstyle, it's not a problem. It's absolutely fine. And
just on a side note, when you switch strings, do you go down the strings, or do you keep your thumb on the pickup?
I've never thought about it until someone pointed out. They said this thing. Someone said you've got really good right hand technique because your thumb follows the strings.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've never even. And it's one of those things that this guy.
That's the best way to do it.
Is it really?
Yeah. This guy said I practiced for ages to do that because that's something I've always been really bad at. And my tutor.
I've only just found out.
Why is that better?
Just because then you don't. Again, you're not straining those tenders as well. Because you're not constantly just bending over like this. You're following it.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
And it's one thing. Now I'm aware of it. I realise how sometimes I don't do it. I won't do more than a 2-string. I'll have it. If you're going up a string just for one note, it doesn't really matter because then it's
just a stretch.
But it is one of those things that I've been lucky not to do wrong. And not because I've never really had bass lessons. I've had a couple where I've gone to sort of specialists or bass players that I've been big fans of and respect their amazing skills, and I've had one-off lessons and it's been a case of you're doing that wrong, just to tone up a few things. But I remember
every penny, I'm sure.
I had one. Right. Yeah, I remember I had one lesson with a guy in Norwich. And a really nice...
Just a random guy on the street.
Guy, I can remember his name. Dan
Can you play bass? I guess.
This guy...
Teach me.
This guy, Dan Veal, who's a very, very good bass player. And he's very, very technical. He plays like a 7-string bass. And he's does this the great style. But, like, I had a lesson with him. And I had a 2-hour lesson because I was like, I'm going all this way. I had 2-hour lessons, and I think it was 50-something quid.
Which isn't bad for 2 hours.
No, and
really
he's
a top end guy.
Yeah, top end player. I mean, sometimes you get an hour for that with some of the top players.
Yeah.
We hardly played bass. 2 hours was just talking, and we, a little bit. I did.
So we getting 50 quid for this?
Oh yeah, I hope so.
No. And I was like, and I came out. I was like, I wish I'd have actually learned more bass, but
you did.
But I did. I learned a lot, not only about the industry that we are part of, because he's a very good session player, and I asked him a lot about that. The approach you have to working with a new musician, and just to learning stuff. And just how he goes about his day as a musician, and I learned so much from him.
I try to teach that a lot as well in my classes.
Not just the guitar.
Yeah, because I'm just talking about the right people to talk to, how to value yourself, and all this kind of stuff in terms of just running yourself as a business. Because I didn't learn that until uni, and then by that point I'd already been spending I've been spending most of my time just like, I want to be a rock star, because people just find me on a subway sometime and they'll be like, you're amazing, I want to sign you with £1 million. And I'm like, oh yeah, all right, whatever, I don't give a shit, just give me money and I'll do stuff.
And even if it happened, you'd have been like, okay,
I'd have been fucked because I've got to give them £1 million back down the line.
Yeah.
But so
they would have spent it for you anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And then so I'm getting there thinking, so if I'd have known a lot of the shit that I know now when I was a kid, that's one of the reasons why you want to be a teacher, isn't it? It's kind of almost reliving your life.
Yeah.
But hopefully in a positive way.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't make the mistake I made.
I wish I'd had more STIs. I'm going to help these kids just to sort that out.
If you read that question, that sentence really badly, that could come very. Well,
why else would you have a guitar teacher? You know what guitar teachers are good for? STIs. That's pretty much it. I have to do everything
to
do
with
sex.
To edit the hell out.
Yeah,
of this.
I'm not going to. No, I'm not going to.
Great, this is going to come and bite me on the ass.
There's one from what we've got. There's one word I'm going to bleep out, but I might put a pig noise on it, and that's about it.
What was the word?
We'll have to do 2 if he says it, won't he?
Oink.
What was the word? Because I want to hear it.
So,
oink.
Just coming back.
Was it actually oink?
Well,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't. It sounded like oink.
Oh.
Anyway.
The latter half. Anyway.
So, it's bacon my noodle. All
right.
So you saying about you paid this guy 50 quid basically for his time, for his conversation.
Yeah.
Now, as we've got into this whole information is free internet generation, do we actually value the information that we have?
That's what.
So as teachers, are we giving it away too easily sometimes?
I think that is the challenge as.
Don't wait till you're married.
As a teacher, as doing private lessons, the challenge is justifying, or not even justifying, making someone know that what you're teaching them is worth the money that they're giving you for the lesson. But
then you're peacocking the whole time. You're sitting there just going, look how good I am.
Yeah, I don't think you need to, though, because the fact, as you say, YouTube doesn't talk back to you. This guy does. I mean, that in itself, surely, that's got to be worth its weight in gold.
That's true,
yeah.
The personalised, before you even get into the personalised,
the critical analysis
about
and like you say, the conversation that I had with Dan
goes around it.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big sort of thing for me to go. I came out of that much wiser.
I've grown a small beard.
And yeah. The beard, this beard,
It came from
turned
that
up.
conversation. This guy's pretty friggin' wise.
Yes.
What the hell? Well, I got as sure as some friggin' streaky sideburns here. I need to get some
If
wising.
the beard makes you wise, the sideburns, they're.
We're going to be talking a lot after this podcast.
We probably
So
will.
I can beard more.
More beard. Yeah.
Beard.
I can't help you with that.
I think that's probably a sign that we should probably be finishing
Perhaps
off.
so, yeah.
As,
Yes,
Hey.
you're now
Hello.
starring in a video.
there we go. if it's still filming, that is. Let's actually check.
Isn't it? Yeah, it's
The
probably just
blinking red
like
light.
crazy
Oh,
just
I
gone.
can even see the red light. So yeah, let's get with that.
That's fine.
That's all
Right,
good.
Are we going to do the whole like and subscribe?
There we go. Yeah.
Point enter thing because it's a trendy thing to do, and then like there's going to be a picture here of a unicorn
Although we will
that I'm
say,
holding.
make sure if you're watching us on YouTube, check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/Unity in Music UK. All our podcasts, I hope, will be downloadable at soundcloud.com/Unity in Music UK.
So you got a website?
No.
I don't like the internet.
You may do at some point. I know you were talking about doing a.
Well, actually, yeah, ironically, yeah, I was talking about giving away all my teaching knowledge on YouTube for free, but not quite. So if I ever do that, I'll let you know.
Yeah, we'll
No, it's-
do a post about it.
Search Wisdom Beard.
Think of me
You'll
like the
find him.
A-team. If you can find me, then I may
Hire him.
Then I may help you.
You're going to get people stopping you in the street now.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, it's Mr. T.
Mr. D.
Yeah, I can do
Mr. T. No,
I can live with that.
that's his porn name.
We have.
I've got lockabilis.com.
Yes.
Find me.
Oh, and on Facebook as well, I'm sure. Everything will be in the comments below. And
As well as a lot of people saying how bullshit our opinions are.
Yes, yeah, I hope
Saying
so.
very hurtful things.
The more comments is better, so it doesn't
Yes.
matter what they say. It will just boost our...
Stop being mean.
Yeah. And I'm probably going to split this into two, because it's hour and 45 minutes long.
You don't need to tell them that though, because if you have, they'll already know.
Oh, yeah.
And if you haven't, you'll
Well,
have to edit
thank
that
you for
out.
listening to the second part of the podcast. We usually do a song at the
I'm a
end.
smart guy. This is the beard.
Yes. We usually do a song at the end, but we haven't really, because it was a bit slapdash last minute. We don't.
There
we go.
Do the theme tune music and passing the baton to you.
Maybe what we should do is get.
I don't think we're in the same key, but it's fine.
It's
Okay, I'll deal with it.
It's all right.
Bass player, I don't need to be.
Sure.
I think what we should do is we should play the
Stop.
outro credits, and Dan will hit the jar with the pen in time for the end, which will be
Oh, okay, yeah.
it'll
Let
be
me know
quite
when
a
it is.
challenge because we haven't actually got it here. So we're just going to have Dan stand there in silence for about 10 seconds, and then we'll hit it and we'll time it all later. Thank you. Should we do a bye all at the same time like we do? So 1, 2, 3. Bye.
Oh, Jesus.